105 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on the gangs of New York. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. Gangs used to be mostly in low-income, high-crime areas, city jails like Rikers Island, and state prisons. But now gang membership in New York City is at an all-time high, according to multiple law enforcement officials. The age of many gang members is barely in the double digits. This chart from Vanguard Crime Strategies, LLC, shows the overall structure of gang life in New York City. It looks organized, but it's complex and even chaotic, with shifting alliances and even coalitions between former rivals called ops. In New York City, there are four main nationally affiliated gangs: the Bloods, the Crips, Folk Nation, and the Trinitarios. Under them, there are hundreds of smaller groups called sets or crews. There's no exact census on actual numbers, but law enforcement officials estimate it's in the tens of thousands.
They're putting everything online, or whether they're rapping about their ops, or whether they're kicking over candles, or whether they're actually doing drills. They're doing everything online, and they're documenting and creating their own digital footprint.
We had exclusive access to NYPD Gun Violence Suppression Division takedowns in Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx, where police and prosecutors put alleged trigger pullers in handcuffs. Police say both shooters and their victims are getting younger, and 96% are minorities.
You have to realize that about 65% of our shootings in New York City historically have a gang nexus.
Gang members' digital boasting and posting of crimes and threats leaves a digital fingerprint and a fast track to a conviction, says prominent criminal defense attorney Arthur Aidala, who represents Chef G.
The pictures of you with the guns that you put on your Instagram page, well, we got that. The picture of you doing some kind of rant about something, that's going to come in. Or if at the very least, it's going to be used against you.
Hip-hop community activist Hassan Hocus 4/5 Harris, a former gang member, ignited the internet when he started the Drop My Flag Challenge to encourage young gang members to leave gangs before it's too late. The former member of the notorious Bronx blood set called Sex Money Murder was acquitted in 2012 of conspiracy charges that could have kept him behind bars for life.
Some of them might even look up to me and who I was, not understanding that I come up in an era where it wasn't no cameras. Right. Nowadays, you go spin the block, they are rewinding back to when you left your house.
Let's dive in and take this to our panel. Joining me is Teresa Ramos. She is the former director of gang intelligence for the New York City Corrections Department. Spent a lot of time working on Rikers Island as well. Teresa, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And she is also currently the CEO of her own company, Vanguard Crime Strategies. Also joining us is Hocus 4/5. He is a former gang member, a longtime community activist. He's been on Street Soldier many different times talking about various issues that are affecting our community, especially the youth. And he is currently, as many of you already know, the creator of the Drop My Flag hashtag on social media, and encouraging other gang members to just say goodbye to the gang once and for all. We're going to talk with him all about that. Hocus, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Lisa, once again.
We really appreciate it. Also with us is Arthur Aidala, joining us again, and he's top criminal defense attorney, legal commentator, and he is currently representing Chef G, and is the one that worked out a deal with the Brooklyn DA for him. Arthur, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, Lisa, it is always a pleasure to be anywhere where you are.
Thank you so much. Arthur, I want to start with you. What do you see as the scope of the problem right now?
Look, it is an absolute focus of the NYPD and the District Attorney's Office, especially the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, to focus on gang violence. A lot of the guns, that's their number one thing. Where are the guns coming from? And the part that's troubling is that a lot of the victims of gang violence are the people who live in their own communities. You don't see too much gang violence going on in Dyker Heights, Brooklyn, or in Bayside, Queens. So it has been a tremendous focus of the NYPD to use intelligence sources to target those areas. And the DA, I can tell you, Eric Gonzalez, the Brooklyn DA, I mean, he puts his best and brightest in the gang units because statistically speaking, that's a big cause of the crime in the city of New York.
All right, Hocus. When you look around at what's happening, where do you see it? Because you were involved, criminal justice system involved. You were out there on the streets, and now you're really trying to tell young men and boys that this is just a dead end. It's not a way to go, and you're traumatizing an entire community. Where do you see the gang situation in New York today?
Well, I see it growing like never before. I see a lot of young dudes joining gangs. I think it's more popularized now through the music and through social media. And I think these kids, they don't have enough programs, enough opportunities out there, enough things to get into. So they join the gangs and they think it's cool and it's being glorified and glamorized.
Teresa Ramos, you were inside, right, working inside, deep inside Rikers Island, where you're seeing these gangs. For a lot of people, just give us a big picture look. Most people, they hear gangs and they think, oh, this is like the Bloods and the Crips, and that's like a LA or a Chicago thing, and it's not really a New York thing, but it seems to be very much a New York thing. What's the overall kind of structure of the gangs in New York that you see?
So when we talk about gangs of New York and then you bring up Rikers Island, you also have to consider how it looks outside in the town, as they say, and then what's happening actually on Rikers Island. On Rikers Island, you have the normal makeup of the four major gangs. In the streets, you have subsets, and then under those subsets, you have the street crews. And for the first time in a very long time, in decades, the street crews are affecting the makeup of Rikers Island.
And then what about the age? Because one of the things that the NYPD has said is that the age of the crew members, in particular, that the age is getting younger and younger, and the victims of the violence are younger and younger as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even my time in the DA's office, a lot of the victims and the ones perpetrating the crimes, they were 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old. If you track them through their criminal history or their criminal career, unfortunately, they're now becoming 16, 17, 18, and soon they're going to be adults that are doing these crimes.
Arthur, in certain neighborhoods, some of the young people tell me that, depending on where you grow up, even if you're not actively involved in a gang, you're kind of affiliated now because of these geographical divides that are out there.
I had a case, Lisa, where a guy got in so much trouble because when they executed a search warrant in his house, he had a red bandana on his dresser. That's it. They were looking for a perpetrator. They had some information that he may have been in, and there may have been a gun there, whatever. All that was there was a red bandana on his dresser. And he, his mother, his sister were like, he's not in the gang. He's not in the gang. Now, does he live in a gang neighborhood? And I mean, I had to fight tooth and nail. And I did finally convince them that he wasn't in the gang and that he wasn't the perpetrator. But it was as little as having a red bandana. Guess what, folks? I have a red bandana. I got a bald head. I sweat. I get hot. I take the bandana. I wipe the sweat off my head. I am not a member of the Bloods because I have a red bandana. But it takes that little amount of corroboration for them to believe that you're affiliated because it's that simple.
Hocus, what about that profiling issue? Like, what role does that play for the kids?
One of the main reasons why I started to drop my flag challenge is because of the way the FBI and, even the state is abusing the RICO in these conspiracies. And like they tell us it's not illegal to be in a gang, but once you enter a gang, they already have proof through court, right? Even though we know they're not criminal enterprises, that these are criminal enterprises. So you're telling me it's not illegal to be in the Bloods or sex, money, murder, but you have indicted people under sex, money, murder and got convictions saying this is a criminal enterprise. So my approach is to tell our young brothers and sisters, like, look, I'm not gonna, change the laws. The FBI, they're not gonna change the laws. But what we can do is start giving them the ammunition and, drop the game, drop the flag. I'm not this. I'm not in the criminal enterprise, and start something new, something that's based around a foundation of integrity and honor, and not based around criminality. Because no matter what we want to believe, these gangs are based around criminality. The essence of it.
What he's saying is 100% accurate, especially how they're using the RICO laws and they're defining, like in their indictment, the Bloods is known to be a criminal enterprise. And and look, they're not reinventing the wheel. This is what they did with organized crime. The Gambino crime family, La Cosa Nostra, is known to be a criminal enterprise, and this was a member of it. And it just takes minimal contact, like sending $20 to somebody in jail, and they're like, well, he's now an associate of the gang.
Teresa, what do you think about what they're saying? That were there a lot of innocent people on Rikers Island when you were there?
So if I can actually just go back to a couple of the comments before that both Hocus and Arthur were saying. First of all, shame on anyone who just, calls someone a gang member for having a red bandana. And with that said, as someone who has worked with PD on gang cases, there is a vetting system before anyone is put into that gang database. And I will say, having worked in DOC and working with phenomenal correction officer investigators who they go over and beyond to make sure we're not just saying someone is a gang member because you see a red bandana hanging in their cell. We're looking at gang paraphernalia. We're looking at paperwork. We're looking at, are they using hand signs when they're greeting each other? Are they using the lingo? Are they talking? Are they actually representing what they are? Because the truth is, someone may be something in the street, but as soon as they come onto Rikers Island, it's literally going to be life or death for them. So we don't play that game. Whatever they may tell a detective in the box is very differently than what they're going to tell the gang intel unit once they come on the island. So with that said, I will say that, they do need better vetting systems as far as PD does with, with the young adolescents that they're looking at. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that there is truly a vetting system when it comes to that.
Tell us about the Drop My Flag Challenge. What kind of response have you been getting since you started that?
Oh man, the response has been amazing. I have gotten a response from homies. When I say homies, I mean Bloods, Crips, gangs from all around the country. So when I started it, the first people, I was a Blood, right? But the first people who dropped their flag was
you were
Crip.
sex money murder, right?
Yes, I was sex money murder.
And so we understand. Was that a set of the Bloods?
Yes.
Was that under? Okay, like a chapter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, the first people to drop their flag was a Crip and then a Latin King. And then there was a young kid, he wanted to drop his flag. He was part of the Apes, under the Bloods. And what I did is I put a message out on Instagram like, yo, I got a young brother he's going to college. He was going to college and he wants to, drop the gang. And they reached out to me like this instantly, like, what? Hocus, tell him we show him our blessings. We actually support him. Please let him drop the gang. I began a response from celebrities. Ice-T chimed in and he's supporting it. Styles P, shout to Styles P, he's supporting it. Busta Rhymes. I mean, just so many people, even on the West Coast.
From Fat Joe too, right?
Yeah, Fat Joe, big shout to Fat Joe. That's my big brother, BX for life. And some big homies from the West Coast, other coasts and other cities. And it's just taking off. Of course, there's some people that disagree with it because they don't understand. But most of the elder people, like the older homies, they get it because they've been through something. You know what I'm saying? There's the younger ones that don't really understand, but that's what we're here for.
Arthur, in terms of the grooming that happens in the neighborhoods, you're a Brooklyn guy, that happens for these boys coming up, what kind of chances do they really face in the first place, some of them?
Hocus referred to it earlier, that there's not enough programming. Just yesterday, I was at a police athletic league event. That is a tremendous opportunity for kids who are struggling, who don't have the infrastructure, who don't have the family base to go and seek some shelter and some community. There's an expression, an idle mind is the devil's playground, meaning if you don't have anything going on, that's when you get in trouble. If you're busy, you're too busy to get into trouble. I'll tell you the truth, very personally. The reason why I didn't get in trouble as a kid is because I thought I was like a singer. So I was in a band. So after school, we'd go to my friend's basement and we'd be writing songs. So we were too busy to go steal cars, which was what a lot of people were doing. And the thing is, a lot of the opportunities are out there, but they don't have the mentors. They don't have the people around them. And there's that community, and you're with law-abiding people, and you can see how great life can be if you're doing things the right
as opposed to
way.
dealing with all the stress and trauma, because it's got to be stressful for them being out on the streets, not knowing the ops, what they call the opposition, or their rivals. Teresa, how do you view the men that you saw at Rikers Island? Were there certain similarities in their stories as kids?
The similarities are uncanny with what you see in the street crews, and then when you see with either the young adolescents or even the men, the grown men of age on Rikers Island. You always hear the narrative, oh, you join a gang because of community or family, right? How about you just live in a place and that's what you are, because territorially that's just what the crew or the gang is on that block, right? And that's the difference from what kids are facing now, or young adolescents, young men, as opposed to 20 years ago.
And Hocus, what about that? And the way the laws are now too, if they're underage, there's very few consequences. What has that done to the mentality of these young teens?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Teresa is so right about what she said. And Arthur, Teresa said that these young kids. My son, my own son, I had to stop a situation. He got on a bus, and he was going somewhere, right? But it was kids from another project on that bus. And because my son is from Castle Hill Projects, they wanted to jump him. So I had to call. I had to make a phone call out to to who run those projects. Like, yo, look, that's my son. Like, tell him. And we wind up mending it, but that's not everybody's a hocus who got those connections to do that. And Arthur said it. Mentorship, that's part of the solutions that I have written down, when I present them to the world. Mentorship. We don't have no mentors. The big homies need to become big brothers.
Can I just chime in there real quickly about, the big homies need to do this? The flip side to that is they're also the ones that are putting guns in the young minors' pockets,
well,
right?
I wanted to ask you, it's just crazy to me, Teresa, to see how spread out it is.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say that every single adult that is on a conspiracy or has something to do with, a violent act, that they're the ones that are leading them. However, we have seen in recent years, the 16-year-olds, the 15-year-olds, the 13-year-old, 12-year-olds that are carrying guns. They're not getting them by themselves.
Teresa, in terms of something that could be done to, especially with these young teens that are getting caught up in this whole situation, what would you see from your vantage point that needs to be done or should be done?
I would say that Hocus is on the right track with not only mentorship, but really targeting the young adults that have already touched the criminal justice system and those that haven't. Right? We can't just completely throw away our society and think that no one is redeemable. I don't think either one of us has just one solution and one answer. We have to come together collectively, and that's including former gang members, current gang members, law enforcement, both prosecutor and defense, community activists. We all have to come together, because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone wants to continue to see a dead mother, a dead child, a dead grandmother, or children literally throw their lives away. So I think we just have to come together collectively to kind of come to this solution.
And that was very well stated, and it made me think. So if I'm representing a person on a gang case, or it's not a gang case, but let's just say it's a lower level case. I'm not talking about someone shooting someone or killing somebody. An alternative sentence may be that, okay, we're going to give you 6 months. In the next 6 months, you have to become a member of the PAL or whatever community organization is out there, and you have to report back, and you have to let us know that you're, and just force them, as opposed to forcing them into Rikers Island, which I know you could tell us is probably the worst place a young person could go for a lot of reasons. Putting them into a positive environment, but not just a program where they sit for an hour and talk to a social worker, a program where they get a sense of community.
Learning skills.
Learning skills and learning that they belong. That's right. A lot of it has to do with, like, they don't have a place where they belong. Maybe they don't have aunts and uncles and cousins who are giving that sense of security, that sense of support. Like, we got your back. You want to try out for this? Fine. You're not doing well in school. We'll figure out a tutor. Something along those lines, as opposed to, jail, no jail, or sit with a social worker for an hour once a week and come back and tell us that you're doing okay.
Hocus, final word here. What can people do, and what do you want people to do to support the Drop My Flag Challenge?
Well, if I could talk to my people out there that's in the streets and in gangs, I just want y'all to understand, we went from Black Panthers to Bloods and Crips and to other gangs. it's time to drop that and start something new. Let's have a conversation about it that's built around, not criminality at all, no criminality. But like, Arthur gave a lot of solutions. Teresa's giving solutions. And I'm talking to a lot of brothers that we coming up with some solutions. It has to be something that's built with integrity and, honor. And I just want to, help the youth, man. That's what I'm here for. So I led the way. I put myself, I'm actually putting my life on the line by even doing this. Just put myself.
No, you are. Absolutely.
And I led the way. I'm dropping my flag just to show y'all that y'all could do it too. And, live a better life.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on the Gangs of New York. You can watch it again and share it on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page and the Fox Local app. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.